شركة عطاء التعليمية مسيرة تستحق أن تروى. 33 عاماً من العطاء. بدأت في عام 1991، واصلنا فيها نجاحاً يتلوه نجاح. وفي عام 2019 أصبحت عطاء مدرجة في سوق الأسهم السعودي، ونموذجاً يحتذى به في نمو القطاع التعليمي. في عطاء نصنع القادة ونبني الأجيال لتكون علامة فارقة في حاضر الوطن ومستقبله، حيث نغرس القيم ونسطر تاريخاً مليئاً بالإنجازات. نجحنا بتوفيق الله تعالى من خلال رؤية واضحة واستراتيجيات تحقق الأهداف وتدعم الإنجازات. في عطاء نرعى الكوادر ونقدم الخبرات، نسعى للتطوير والريادة من خلال برامج تعليمية ونوعية. ويرى أثر هذه البرامج على أكثر من 44 ألف طالب وطالبة في مجمعاتنا التعليمية، والتي تبلغ 22 مجمعاً وعبر 7 مسارات تعليمية. ولا زالت مسيرتنا مستمرة، وطموحنا أن تمتد عطاء إلى العالمية. شركة عطاء التعليمية، جيل مبدع وقيم راسخة. عطاء التعليمية، جيل مبدع وقيم راسخة. المحددات الاستراتيجية لشركة عطاء التعليمية: تحسين الجودة التعليمية، تحسين المكانة التنافسية للشركة، تحقيق التميز التشغيلي، موائمة خطط تطوير التعليم في المملكة، تحسين تجربة العملاء. الممكنات: تنمية رأس المال البشري، التطوير المهني، ربط التقنية بالتعليم.
هلا والله، أنا الحين بالفصل وبعطي الجوال لأكثر شخص يحب المهنة.
بعطي الجوال للطالب اللي ما قد غاب عن حصة الرياضة.
وأنا بعطي الجوال لأكثر شخص يشارك بأنشطة المدرسة.
وأنا بعطي الجوال لأكثر طالب متفوق في الفصل.
الحين نعطي الجوال للي علمنا واللي شجعنا واللي كان معانا طول الوقت.
In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, peace be upon the first teacher, inspirer of humanity, our master Prophet Muhammad. May the blessings of Allah be upon him. Your Excellencies, knowledgeable scholars, professional educators, and honorable attendees, greetings from the bottom of our hearts, presented with gratitude and modesty, the greeting of the people of paradise. peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah be upon you. عطاء Educational Company warm-heartedly welcomes you to its conference entitled Improvement of the Educational Process in the Light of KSA Vision 2030.
سارعين للمجد والعليا مجدي لخالق السماء وارفع الخفاق اخضر يحمل النور المسطر ردي الله اكبر يا موطني قد عشت فخر المسلمين عاش الملك للعلم والوطن.
In عطاء, we believe in the role of researchers, specialized experts, and skilled educators in developing human potentials. This belief is based on KSA Vision 2030. Therefore, عطاء Empowerment Conference is here to enhance and reinforce the professional development of educators of the Arab world. Teacher empowerment refers to the process of equipping educators with the tools, resources, autonomy, and support necessary to excel in their profession. It involves fostering a conducive environment where teachers feel valued, respected, and empowered to innovate, create, and make impactful decisions that enhance both their teaching abilities and student learning outcomes. And now, let's overview the conference agenda. The first research paper entitled, We Are Not Teachers. The second research paper entitled, The Importance of a Student-Centered Language Instruction. The third research paper entitled, Enhancing Students' Learning Through Teachers' Empowerment. The fourth research paper entitled, Organizational Skills as Anxiety Diminishing Tools. The final session is for the conference recommendations. Let me introduce our first session moderator, my friend and colleague, Mr. Wael Abdelbaqi, an academic consultant at عطاء Educational Company. Mr. Wael.
Assalamu alaikum, and a very pleasant morning, dear guests, and all participants. This is Wael Abdelbaqi. Most welcome to عطاء Annual Empowerment Conference, Tmkeen 2024. And today, it gives me the greatest pleasure to be your first session research paper moderator, through which we will be discussing how we should be teaching and why should learning inputs be comprehensible and compelling. Again, why we need our educational decisions to be data-driven. All of these language areas and more will be professionally discussed and presented by our first session keynote speaker, Dr. Rainer Roberts. In today's first research paper, We're Not Teachers. What a super exciting title. Let me introduce Dr. Rainer Roberts to you. Rainer Roberts started his education career in August 2000 after serving in the United States Army. Rainer has served in many educational roles that have ranged from high school English teacher, principal, corporate trainer, university lecturer, academic coordinator, and a consultant. He has trained thousands of educators worldwide in best teaching practices, including TESOL. Mr. Reiner's academic achievements include a bachelor's degree of arts in English from Virginia Military Institute, USA, a master's degree of arts in educational leadership from Fort Hays State University, US, and the Doctorate of Philosophy in Instructional Design and Technology at Liberty University, US. Currently, Rainer serves as the Managing Partner of Academic Partnership, LLC, and an English lecturer at King Saud ibn Abdulaziz University for Health and Science, Riyadh campus, of course. The Academic Partnership, LLC, is an educational consultancy that advocates for the needs of educational organizations by supporting teachers and students and leadership. He also serves as the regional director of Paris University for International Education, Middle East and Africa. Wow, what a nice resume, Rainer. Most welcome, dear friend. And now the mic is yours. Thank you again.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that introduction, Mr. Weil. Mr. Weil and I have known each other for many years. And he's a good man. He's a good educator. And I'm excited to speak on this topic today because this is an important topic for many reasons. As we move towards becoming better societies, we have to know that in order to reach that feat, we have to look at the way, it's asking me, am I speaking in Arabic? No, I'm speaking in English, so let me change this. All right, we have to look at the way we are engaging learners, especially in this 21st century. We cannot engage learners the way that we engage learners 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. So hence, our talk today will be, we are not teachers. We are not teachers. Back to yeah, there you go. We are not teachers. Now, I'm going to warn everyone that I'm going to say some very interesting things today. The attempt is not to be controversial. I sincerely believe everything I'm going to say today, and I want everyone to consume it. Some people may get even a little offended about what I'm saying today. The intent is not to offend. The intent is to help you reflect and possibly change the way you approach teaching and learning. Okay, with that, let's look at our first slide. There we go. I know we're in a webinar, but I want you to think for about 10 seconds about this statement. Students do not learn because we teach. Students do not learn because we teach. What does that mean to you? Think about it for about 10 seconds. What does this mean? This quote is from Dr. Diane Lawson Freeman, a superstar in the world of language acquisition. And we're going to talk some of what her positions are. And I would believe that based on her papers and books over the years, Dr. Lawson Freeman would agree that we are not teachers. We are not teachers. So what does it mean that students do not learn because we teach? One of the things, if you will, that we have to realize is that we teach no one anything. We teach no one anything. So an educator understands that. A researcher understands that. A teacher doesn't. A teacher actually goes into a classroom and actually believes they have the ability to teach another human being something. Well, I would respectfully submit that teachers do not have the ability to teach anyone anything, that we are not that powerful. What we do is inspire. What we do is motivate. What we do is inspire. What we do is encourage. So let's keep this quote in mind by Dr. Diane Lawson-Freeman, that students do not learn because we teach. If we accept that, then our teaching practices will improve. Next slide, please.
Dr. Reiner, you can control now. You just click once on the screen, then up and down with the arrow.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you. So, thank you. So let's look at our objective. I only have one objective today, and that is to rewire your teaching-centered minds and move you towards a student-centered approach mind as you approach your teaching and learning methods. Okay, I want to rewire that teacher-centered minds, because even many of us believe that we are student-centered, but we still present teacher-centered methods, or primarily teacher-centered methods, to students. So my tip today is to give you some inputs, if you will, to help, to encourage you, to inspire you to move away from those teacher-centered inputs and start moving towards student-centered practices. I know you have a talk later on today about student-centered teaching and learning practices. So I want to help kind of set the stage for future speakers. Now, here's one thing. Okay, clicking. Okay. Oh, how do you go back? How do I go back? Previous. Okay. Let's talk some biology quickly. In all of our minds, we have this part of the brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is extremely important as it relates to how the brain receives information. After inputs, after data is received by the reticular activating system, and that information is perceived to be safe. This information then goes to the amygdala. And this happens for every student, every human being. And the amygdala is concerned with one thing. The amygdala is concerned about what is in it for me. Why do you want me to learn about ancient Greece? Why do you want me to learn geography? Why do you want me to learn subject-verb agreement? What is in it for me? And as educators, we have to deal with students, learners, amygdalas. And some of us have 12 learners in our class, so we have to deal with 12 amygdalas. Some of us have 20 learners in our class, so we have to deal with 20 amygdalas, so on and so forth. But we have to deal with this idea of what's in it for me. So as educators, notice I didn't say teachers, as educators, the primary thing that we should be concerned about our students' wants, needs, and expectations. We have to be concerned with students' wants, needs, and expectations and build our curriculum or curricular around students' wants, needs, and expectations. You see, a teacher is not concerned about a student's wants, needs, and expectation. A teacher is concerned about the pacing. A teacher is concerned about students being quiet in class. A student is concerned about how many words a student wrote. These are not the concerns that we should be worried about. What our primary worry and concern as educators is students' wants, needs, and expectations. There are 3 ingredients, if you will, in order to make sure that we're developing the student or learners that will become lifelong learners, that will become productive members in a society. There's 3 elements that we need to deal with as we look at students' wants, needs, and expectations. The first ingredient is self-determination. We have to make sure that students can set their own goals, that they can set their own visions, that they can set their own floating destinations. Notice I said floating destinations, because that destination is not static, right? It's not static, especially if they're young learners. And even when they become more mature learners, that destination, that finish line, if you will, can move from point to point, and that's fine. The key is that we want students to set their own goals, to set their own visions, to set their own finish line. The next ingredient is self-regulation. Once a learner has set their own goals, once a learner has set their own floating finish line, they need to be able to be self-motivated to move towards that destination, to accomplish those goals. They have to be self-regulated. It has to be intrinsic. It has to be intrinsic. And the final ingredient to help students become lifelong learners, to become productive members of society, is we have to help them with their self-advocacy. So as they set their own goals, as they become self-regulated, we all know as adults that there are going to be bumps in the road. There are going to be obstacles. And self-advocacy is about being able to fall down and get back up. Fall down and get back up. Having the confidence to know that you have the ability to get to that destination that was set. So what we as educators, notice I said educators, have to be concerned with is the learner profile. Now, as a consultant for many years now, I always look to see whether I'm dealing with a school of teachers or a school of educators. And unfortunately, I find that I'm often dealing with a school of teachers. And one of the things that I look for, one of the indicators, is whether there's a culture within that school of learner profiling. So what do I mean by learner profile? A learner profile is a comprehensive and individualized document. It's not in your head. Because teachers will say, I know my students, but never have anything documented. So a learner profile is a comprehensive and individualized document that provides a detailed overview of a student's learning preferences, wants, needs, and expectations, strengths, weaknesses, interests, and unique characteristics. It serves as a valuable tool for teachers and educational professionals to better understand their students and tailor their instruction to meet each student's specific needs. So a learner profile is a document for each student that says, this is Muhammad, this is Mansour, this is Ahmed, this is Wael, this is Sarah, this is Ashwak. This is who this person is holistically, comprehensively. What is their favorite color? What foods do they not like? Are they strong in math? Are they more objective in their approach? Are they more abstract in their approach? What's their favorite sport? Do they like to speak a lot? How do they prefer to engage as it relates to participation? If you do not have that document, you are a teacher. If you engage students at the beginning of school without a learner profile, you are a teacher. So we need, if we want to move towards 21st century outcomes, we have to create learner profiles. Okay? Now let's look at this picture, these three pictures. And think for a second, what is trying to be communicated with this slide? We have a child with their thumbs up, 3 children, and a child looking out into the distance. Well, in order to, without the learner profile, you cannot do the one thing that Dr. Curl Ann Thomason says that we need to differentiate instruction. Now we hear all this talk about differentiation in the classroom and when to do it. I would respectfully submit that we always differentiate. Why? Because we have different learners in the classroom. Remember, you are not teaching a class. You are teaching individuals who all have different wants, needs, and expectations, who all have different experiences. So in order to differentiate, Dr. Curl Ann Thomason tells us that students must be interested, they must be ready, and you must consider what? Their learner profile. So students must be interested, they must be ready, and you must consider the learner profile. So how do we know if they're interested? How do we know if they're ready? Well, we know that because we looked at the learner profile and we are more concerned about students' wants, needs, and expectations. So you cannot differentiate unless you have the student's learner profile and unless you are willing to not worry about the things that teachers are worried about, to not worry about the things that academic coordinators are worried about, like pacing. Because understand, we are not machines. You're not a machine. Your learners are not machines. You are not programming learners like we program computers. Human learning is not artificial. We have to remember that this place called a school and these rooms in a school called classrooms, that is artificial. We as humans do not naturally learn in a rectangle with someone standing in front of us talking to us. That's artificial learning. As humans, we learn based on whether the inputs that we're receiving are authentic, whether they meet our wants, needs, and expectations. So teachers treat teaching and learning engagements, transactions, as if they're programming computers. Well, I'm here to tell you today, your learners are not computers. They're human beings with different wants, needs, and expectations. Human learning is not artificial. It's so interesting that we talk about AI, and many people are afraid of AI, but we treat our learners as if they are AI. Your learners are not AI. Your learners are not machines. They're human beings. And because they're human beings, we need to consider Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Your students have physical needs that must be addressed. Remember earlier, the first slide, I talked about the reticular activating system. Well, this is the first part of the brain where inputs, where learning occurs. Because if a student is hungry, if they're thirsty, if they're cold, if they're sleepy, if they're angry, they will not learn anything, regardless how good of a teacher you are. Then we have to deal with the student safety needs. And these are the two parts that the RAS deals with. Are they safe? Do students feel safe? Do they feel comfortable in the learning environment? Are there dangers? Is the learning environment healthy? Is it clean? We have to deal with these aspects if we want learning to occur. Because remember, we don't teach anyone anything. So if we want students to teach themselves, we have to provide the environment in order for them to thrive. So we have to deal with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We have to deal with it, because if you don't deal with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then that reticular activating system will not allow information to go to the amygdala. And some of us do that very well. Some of us provide learning environments that's very comfortable and very, very inviting for our learners. I've seen many teachers do this very well. So we satisfy the needs of the reticular activating system. However, where we drop the ball is with the amygdala, because we don't deal with what's in it for me. Not what's in it for mama, not what's in it for the teacher, not what's in it for the principal, what's in it for daddy, what's in it for the individual learner. And once we address what's in it for me, once we satisfy that amygdala that every learner has, then we have to move learners up the higher order thinking block. Too often I go into classrooms and I observe teachers keeping students at one order of learning, keeping them centered in one thinking skill instead of moving them up to higher order thinking. In the second half of the 21st century, we have to produce citizens of the world, global citizens, who are able to fix the robot, who are able to fix AI, who are able to outsmart AI, who are able to program AI. That's a reality. So this means that from KG up, we have to start making sure that we move students up the taxonomy and making sure they are, as much as they possibly can, engaging in evaluation and synthesis, that they're creating things and then evaluating what they create. Now, some of you are going to look at this taxonomy and say something's wrong with it. Well, this is the original taxonomy. This is not the revised one. The revised taxonomy, synthesis is the higher order skill. But I respectfully submit that evaluation, and many other researchers respectfully submit that evaluation is the higher ordered skill, because it is evaluation that promotes lifelong learning. So let's get into this idea of how do we become not teachers? We gotta have a vision. Now I want you to think about another point here. When you interview for a job at a school, do you talk to the school about the school's vision? Do you ensure that your vision, your teaching and learning vision is aligned with the vision of the school that you're applying for? Or are you more concerned about the salary? Are you more concerned about whether they offer housing? Are you more concerned about how much PTO time you get, how much breaks you get, what's the vacation? Are you more concerned about becoming a principal or becoming a coordinator? Or do you ask questions to determine whether that school's vision is aligned with your vision? And here's a follow-up question. What is your teaching vision? Can you state your teaching vision in one statement? When you teach a course, when you teach a class, do you brainstorm the vision that you have for that class? Can you tell yourself your school's vision? Do you know your school's vision? Can you recite it? Can you recite your vision? Are those two visions aligned? Teachers do not care about visions. Teachers care about getting the course finished. Teachers care about the final exam. Teachers care about quizzes. Educators care about the final destination, the vision. So, Dr. Ray, what does a non-teacher look like? Well, I would respectfully submit to you that the non-teacher is a statue. The non-teacher is a statue. The non-teacher is someone that can go into this artificial environment called a classroom and allow students to gaze upon them, like I look at this picture, to allow students to look at the educators, notice I didn't say teachers, educators' imperfections, that allows students, learners to talk, that allows learners to explore, the educator, and look at the educator's imperfection. Because the business that we do as educators, as teachers, is actually outside the classroom with planning. See, teachers do not like to plan. When you ask a teacher to write a daily lesson plan, they go, what am I gonna write a daily lesson plan for? Right? I always get pushback when you start asking for daily lesson plans. Well, educators are planners. Teachers are not. Teachers don't like to plan. Educators love the plan. 90% of what we do is outside the classroom, is planning. Seeing what we can do to make sure students are going to be interested, make sure students are going to be ready based on that learner profile. to looking at their learner profile, seeing what the wants, needs, and expectations of the learners are, and then planning standards and objectives, smart objectives around students' wants, needs, and expectations in your vision of the course. So you have to have a vision of the course that has to be aligned with the school's vision, and your vision have to be aligned. And then you need to take that vision and mold it so students' wants, needs, and expectations are met. So teachers do not like being vulnerable. I had a good colleague of mine, an excellent colleague, tell me, he said, Ray, don't you think there's a difference between how Middle Eastern or Arabic teachers teach and how maybe Western teachers teach? And my response to him is no. Good meat makes its own gravy. His position was that, Arabic teachers or Middle Eastern teachers or teachers from other cultures, they have to be perfect when they walk in the classroom. No, teachers have to be perfect. Educators do not have to want to be imperfect. Educators want learners to see their flaws. As an educator, you have to be vulnerable. You have to make mistakes. And to see whether the learner can pick up on whether you made the error, whether you made the mistake, and ask you questions about those imperfections. See, a teacher wants to be perfect in that place, in that artificial learning environment called the classroom. I respectfully submit that you do not have to be perfect. You have to be perfectly imperfect, because you are the case study that the learner gaze upon. You provide the inputs for the learner to play with, to explore. We are the curriculum. We, not the textbook. We are the curriculum. Yes, we, the educator, is the curriculum. A teacher believes the textbook is the curriculum. The curriculum is everything that happens in a learning transaction. That is curriculum. That is the proper definition for curriculum. We have to make sure that we're moving learners and we see learners as towards being problem solvers, especially in this 21st century teaching and learning transactions. We have to see learners as problem solvers, because the learners that we have in our classrooms today will face problems that we have never faced before in human history. They have challenges that they have to deal with, that we are leaving them, that are going to require them to be higher order thinkers, to be synthesizers and evaluators. So doing teacher stuff will not work. We have to change our method. We have to think about methodology in order to produce problem solvers, because problem solvers have to be lifelong learners.
Sorry for interrupting you, Ray. Sorry for interrupting you, Ray. Sorry for the interruption. But dear guests, we only have around 6 to 7 minutes left.
No problem.
That's okay, until we're done with our first session. So please note that we would be more than happy to receive your questions and inquiries via the QA books. Also, vice participants via mics are most welcome if we still have enough time left, because you cannot imagine how the gentleman is going through. We're so glad and proud of the presentation. Sorry for interruption, Ray. Go ahead. Thank you very much.
No worries. No worries. So I'm wrapping it up, ladies and gentlemen. So we have to move towards making sure our learners are problem solvers, okay? Not worker ants. That was 50 years ago. We have to produce problem solvers who are going to be smarter than the computers. Now, how do we produce problem solvers who are smarter than computers? Well, the inputs that we give them must be relative, because the problems that they're going to have to solve will be relative. They're going to have to deal with hyperinflation. They're going to have to deal with artificial intelligence interactions. They're going to have to deal with food shortages. They're going to deal with global warming. They're going to have to deal with things like gender identification, overpopulation. So we have to prepare them for these very relative and authentic problems that they have to solve. How can we do that? Stop being teachers. Complexity theory. Understanding that playing the game has a way of changing the rules. Allowing students to move students towards more project-based learning and problem-based learning when they get a little bit older. Having students teaching students how to adapt, making sure that our methods are iterative, that we try things different ways. What I mean by iterative is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 4. Iterative. Put iteration. Make sure your learners are able to adapt to many authentic situations, and make sure that learners can be self-referential as they have interactions with you. Those interactions, they can look at those interactions and see where they are in the process, see where their learning is occurring, because it's self-referential, because you're more concerned, you catered your lesson plan, you catered the course towards their wants, needs, and expectations. Remember that all inputs, all relative inputs, or what Crashing calls comprehensible inputs, are understandable and compelling. They are contextual. Remember, context is the situation the learner understands, not the situation that you understand. So all the inputs, regardless of whether you teach history or you teach English or you teach Arabic or you teach religious studies, it does not matter. Every input that you give learners must be understandable and must be compelling. Revolutionize your teaching. Figure out who you are. Get radical. Don't worry about the test. Worry about that floating vision, that floating destination. Create the test before you teach. Revolutionize, create the assessment before you teach, so you know what to emphasize, so you are giving fair assessments. Ask students what they have required based on a real-world, authentic problem that they are dealing with, and they know they will have to deal with. Move away from MCQs. Move away from fill in the blank. Have them write short responses. Have them write extended responses about what they have acquired. Make the teaching and learning transaction about them. Be reflective. Think about your teaching. I would respectfully submit that you should look at a free document now by Donald Freeman called Action Research. Look it up. As a book that you can get for free online, PDF. And it teaches you how to be the reflective teacher. Make data-driven decisions. Make decisions based on actual information that you have studied, that you have aggregated. Don't make decisions from your heart. No one cares about your feelings. Teachers have feelings. Educators do not. Don't feel, know. Know what your student wants, needs, and expectations are. Don't have emotional feelings about them. Make data-driven decisions. You are not you are a researcher, not a teacher. You are a social scientist, not a teacher. You are a social scientist. This is my argument. Hopefully, I have said something today that moves you away from the teacher mindset and moves you towards having a growth mindset and becoming a researcher, becoming an explorer, planning and being vulnerable to your learners, having you consider their wants, needs, and expectations. With that, thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Ray, for the very precious time and tips you have stated today. I'm so glad to see you around, as always, being a very close friend. And thank you again for accepting the عطاء invitation to our 2024 Empowerment Conference. Your participation was really great, and it actually made the difference. We have lots of questions, but I'm trying to pick like 2 to 3 max, because we're still in short of time. So the first question is, my friend, what do you think about the future of constructivism and teaching and learning?
So constructivism, student-centered learning is derives from this constructivist mindset. The future social constructivism,
yes,
is essential. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this answer short because I can go 20 hours with this.
Yeah, I can't believe that's why it's a really
the short answer to that is because of AI, our currency will be in emotional intelligence, right? So creating individuals who want who have stronger EQs instead of IQs are going to be essential, and that's why we need to have more educators instead of teaching, because now the currency, the way people will make their money is through having great interactions with people. So social constructivism is important. Helping one another in the second half of the 21st century will be the way you pay your bills.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you so much. One final question, please. You have already mentioned one of the best issues about teaching and learning, which is data-driven. Do you mean that we're supposed to analyze the marks of the students who are done with a certain exam, and after that we're supposed to make decisions after that, building on the data-driven background we managed to collect, or what?
Yeah, so I would argue, don't worry about looking at the data from the assessments as much, because most of the assessments that we write are not reliable or have no validity or reliability. So the data that you get from most of those assessments won't tell you much of anything. What I mean by data driven is by making sure that you are always updating that learner profile, that you teacher notice, that you notice things about your learners, that you record different characteristics about your learners. That's data, right? Yeah, some of the assessment scores, again, I don't put a lot of value in assessment scores, especially when the validity and reliability has not been tested. So I'm talking, and that's a teacher thing. I'm talking about being a researcher. Be mimic, go inside with your students, be a learner with them, and look at the data that you're getting. Look at that authentic, real-life data and make decisions. We call it, in the world of teaching and learning, we call it teacher noticing. So notice more. And then that is data that you will use to engage your learners to improve your teaching and learning transactions.
Got you, man. Got you, fully got you. Thank you very much. Thank you again. Your involvement was really and greatly acknowledged. Highly appreciated, Dr. Reiner, and thank you again. Always wishing you all the best. Until we meet again. Have a nice day, man. Thank you again. See you around.
Until we meet again. Everyone have a great day. Assalamu alaikum.
You're doing wa alaikum assalam. Thank you very much. Welcome to our second part of today's conference. Welcome back, dear guests, and it's time for our today's second research paper under the title of Importance of Student-Centered Learning in TESOL, through which Dr. Musa will also be navigating how important students' active participation is, and he will also be tackling the point that there is no best solution for what we call differentiation or differentiated instruction in class. And of course, what are the best practices that will be supposed to be tackled in class by teachers of different levels, and how can we shed light on it? Again, why our students are supposed to be our targeted stakeholders, and of course, our key objectives. Let me welcome Dr. Musa. Dr. Musa Abdullah has been working as an English lecturer at King Saud Ibn Abdulaziz University for Health Sciences since 2013. He holds a bachelor's degree and a master's degree with the University, from the University of Akron, located, of course, in the US. He is currently a PhD candidate at Liberty University, specializing in instructional design and technology. The man has an extensive experience in TESOL education, both in America and abroad. He has been teaching in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia since 2010. He has worked as an ESL instructor for the Higher Institute for Practices, Fabrication from 2010 until 2012. During this time, he was an integrated English skills teacher. From 2013 until present, he has been working as an English lecturer for health and science at King Saud bin Abdulaziz University here in Riyadh. He teaches all writing, academic research, communication skills, and he has worked for a number of educational entities here in the kingdom as a part-time instructor, consultant, and of course, teacher trainer. He began his career in the United States. That was almost 1922. So, Dr. Musa, you're most welcome. And the mic is yours. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Dr. Wild. Good morning, esteemed guests and colleagues, participants in this great conference. Today, I would like to talk about the importance of student-centered learning. But first, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Today, I want to talk about the importance of student-centered learning in TESOL education. Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, we all can hear you well, man. Proceed.
Can you see me?
Definitely, yes. Wow, great as usual, man. Most welcome.
Okay, Jazakumullah khair. Okay, guys, so.
Sorry for interrupting you, Dr. Musa. The control is yours, so you can move back and forth, right?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Most welcome.
Oh, let me change the setting to, it says Arabic. Let's change to English. Let me save that. Okay. It's not moving. I have a controls, but it's not moving. I'm not in control.
You click once on the screen, then the arrow up and down.
Yeah, I did click up and down, and I'm clicking on the screen. Okay, there we go.
No, here we go.
Okay. All right. So here's a presentation for my outline. So basically what I want to talk about is I want to talk about what student-centered learning is. And Dr. Rayner gave us an excellent intro into what student-centered learning is, and I want to go into a little more in depth about the theories of student-centered learning, and also what are the benefits of student-centered learning and what are some key characteristics. Also, how can student-centered learning benefit TESOL practice and methodology? And what can we do as professionals to develop a student-centered approach in the classroom? I will be switching back and forth between the presentation and my screen, my white screen, or the whiteboard. Okay, so what is student-centered learning? So we learned that, and some of you know, and I'm pretty sure most of you know, that student-centered learning at its core is a student-centered educational model that focuses on learners more than it focuses on the teacher. So imagine the student as the core of all of your activities. And once the student is placed at that core, then all the learning activities will radiate from the core of the student, or the wants, needs, and expectations of the student, as Dr. Rayner had informed us about. And this, I posit, is an excellent way to approach the art of education. A brief history about student-centered learning. So student-centered learning is derived from the methodology of constructivism. And constructivism is one of the three big methodologies in educational psychology. Let's see if I can switch to my view here. Oh, I don't have, wait a second here. Oh, my whiteboard, yeah. Existing whiteboards. Okay, we cannot open whiteboard during a shared screen. Okay, let's see. Okay, so screen is being shared. Let me go back to the one. All right, so constructivism, I can't use my whiteboard, so I'll have to continue without it. But constructivism derives from cognitism. Cognitism and constructivism are two social theories of learning. The other big three is behaviorism. So when we say behaviorism, all three of these methodologies deal with how information, or how the learner will encode information, how the learner will store the information, and how the learner will retrieve the information when they need to call on it to use it to perform a task or to produce a correct answer on tests. But student-centered learning takes a constructivist view, which states that knowledge is subjective. In the behaviorist view, or what we call the instructivist view, or instructivism, knowledge is static. But in the constructivist view, knowledge is not static, but it is alive and it is subjective, because every student, every learner brings to the table their experiences, their skills, their cultural backgrounds, and also their desires. So when we talk about constructivism or student-centered learning, it is firmly grounded in constructivism. We'll also talk about active learning, passive learning, and then finally communicative theory in TESOL. So what idea comes to mind when you look at this graphic? If we look at the middle of the word, we see the root of the word is struct, S-T-R-U-C-T, struct. Struct is the Latin word or root that means to build. To build, or actually it can also mean a foundation. Con is the prefix that means the active construction of something or the action of building something. An ism, of course, is like all the other isms. It turns it into a noun, constructivism, right? Constructivism. Let's look at this picture on the left. We see a man or construction work with a hard hat. So I posit that this is a metaphor for constructivism, building. What are we building? We're building learners. But we are not building learners, we're helping them build themselves. But we as teachers always, or educators, will use the terms interchangeably. As educators, we want to build an environment for our learners so that they are able to engage in the material, explore the material, contribute, and further knowledge through active learning. We have to activate their ability to be curious. We have to activate their ability to want to learn, or we have to activate their motivational centers. And we do that by situating learning in a context that is relevant towards their goals, needs, wants, and desires, and accomplishments. Our students have lives. So in behaviorism, we think of the student as an empty canvas, an empty slate. What as referred to in psychology as a tabula rasa, something needed to be filled up so that the teacher or the educator or the subject matter expert fills the students up with his knowledge. He pours out his knowledge and he fills the student up with the knowledge. Well, constructivism says, no, we don't fill the students up with knowledge. We assist the students in uncovering what they already know about a subject and what they can discover about a subject. So, student-centered learning is directly related to constructivist theory or methodology. Knowledge creation is at the center of it. So we have to activate the students' prior knowledge and give them opportunities and guidance in creating new knowledge. That's the synthesis level on Bloom's taxonomy. Active participation. So in constructivist theory or in student-centered learning, students are not passive. Students are not listlessly sitting in the classroom. They're not looking at their cell phones. They're not engaging in conversations with other students with outside of the class work. No, what I mean is the students will be fully engaged and invested in participation in the activities of the classroom. So we have to look at the classroom as an environment. So we're creating an environment. What happens in instructivist-driven environments is that students are engaged basically based upon authority. The teacher says, if you don't pay attention, I'm going to demerit you 2 points. If you don't pay attention, you'll have to come to my office for a teacher's conference. So in constructivism or student-centered learning, we want to get away from that. We want to give this learner autonomy. We want the learner to be an active participant in the decision-making process. We're going to give the learner agency, the ability to say, teacher or sir or madam, I don't want to learn this. We give them a choice. But we say, oh, you have to learn it. Okay, well, can I learn this aspect of it and do this as a project as opposed to following this curriculum in a set 1, 2, 3, 4 manner. That's why in constructive and student-centered learning, we go more into project-based learning. It's a collaborative community. So the educator or facilitator will build, one, a collaborative community that is safe, engaging, that is all about creating knowledge and opportunity for the student to display the proficiency, competency, and skills that they need to first discover, create, and further knowledge. When we do this in the classroom, we create an opportunity for lifelong learning because the students are motivated. When students are invested in their education, when they have the agency to make decisions about their education, they become invested in that education, which in turn increases motivation. So some of the main characteristics of student-centered learning is that each learner is unique. Each learner, brings his own unique style. Now, there's a lot of research that said styles have been debunked, meaning that it's not the sensory or visual auditory learning styles. But students do have preferences. Some students like to read, some students like to speak, some students are kinesthetic, they like to learn by doing. So student-centered learning solves this problem by involving all of these methods in the classroom. So learners are active participants. So within a framework of curriculum, we allow choice for the students. It doesn't mean, as some people say, oh, well, it means the student will learn everything that he wants to learn on his own. And there's no such thing as a curriculum. It's not true. There are curricula in student-centered learning, but students have choices. For example, Johnny wants to take woodworking and Sarah wants to take computer programming. They have an ability to choose, and they have an ability to make decisions. What will you do for your final project, Sarah? Oh, I will build a program demonstrating how to interact with the AI interface. What will you build for your final project, Johnny? I'm going to build a birdhouse, and not only build a birdhouse, but draw the schematical plans for it. So in student-centered learning, we give the students opportunities to capitalize on their strengths and their interests. We always activate the learner's prior knowledge and experience because it is important. When we don't activate the students' prior knowledge or experiences, we often run into problems with boredom and with students doing things that they don't want to do, and this can cause many problems in the learning environment. One of the major things, especially from social constructivism, that student-centered learning takes advantage of is collaboration. One of the main scholars of social constructivism, Vygotsky, he stated that what can be done alone, what can be done in a group can be done alone. So what does that mean? It means that putting the students in a group environment, allowing them to explore and to work together, to build their social skills, to actually create something in a group environment. Once they do this, invariably, they should be able to do it on their own. And also, we make use of the students by getting them involved, and also higher students help lower students learn from higher students, middle students are pulled up, as the saying goes, the ocean floats all ships, so that students can rise to the level and be encouraged. Once we see about, especially modeling the aspect of modeling and student-centered learning, it is very, very beneficial. Now, assessments, according to assessments, to the methodology, assessments in student-centered learning measure competency. It's not like measuring MCQs. So imagine an MCQ test, 100 questions, A, B, C, D. Students are what? Remembering or memorizing information. They're not doing anything active. An assessment in student-centered learning is actually producing something. So we use the community that we created as teachers to produce an artifact. But in instructivist methods, we produce facts. Instructivist methods, behaviorism produces facts. Student-centered learning and constructivism produces artifacts, concrete material that you can assess. A birdhouse, a report, a multimedia presentation that involves all the learners using 21st century skills such as computers and critical thinking and communication skills. It's very important that we involve our learners in authentic assessments. These assessments are authentic. MCQ assessments, fill in the blanks, although they're great for putting data points or finding data points in a graph that we don't normally do anything with except use it to rank students, it does nothing to demonstrate the student's competency, nor does it do anything to demonstrate or to ensure that the student has mastered the information. So there are a lot of benefits to SEL, as we talked about in this conference in great detail. Active learning integrates real knowledge and contextual scenarios. For instance, I teach at a medical university. Medical students should be writing patient profiles. In writing class, we should write patient profiles. Unfortunately, that's something that we don't currently do, but every doctor needs to be able to write a patient profile. This is a detailed report of everything about that patient. Sort of like what Dr. Rayner mentioned about a student profile, but transfer that to a patient under your care. Doctors need to know how to do that. So the point is, we need to align what we're teaching and what the curriculum provides. We need to align it with a real world application. Student-centered learning creates higher motivation and it creates higher satisfaction because of the reflective practice and because of the investment of the students. When a student is invested in their future, they become motivated. And when they know that they have a voice and autonomy, they speak up. But if they are censured for speaking up, or censured for raising their hand, censured for making a mistake, oh, that's the wrong answer, then it creates a problem and it creates a feeling of anxiety, and students become reticent or silent in this case. And this is the opposite reaction that we want to have. We want the students to talk. We want the students to create, especially in English or TESOL or ESL or EFL or whatever acronym you want to use. We want the students to use English. We don't teach English through grammar. And we do fall, I know that we fall back on grammar, but grammar is a teaching method, right? But grammar will not create a fluent speaker that can negotiate meaning and be able to express what they need or want in any given situation. Grammar is learning about the language. In fact, Dr. Creation said that in his one one of his filter, the input, not input filter, but the effective filter. We have to lower the environment to give them the opportunity to explore and to speak, especially in English, but also on the input. We cannot produce a fluent speaker by using the arbitrary knowledge. We need to provide them with necessary knowledge. Arbitrary knowledge is knowledge that comes from outside of the student, outside, namely grammar structures, books, and vocabulary lists. Necessary knowledge is providing the student with the tools to be able to spontaneously create and speak adaptively. So student-centered learning will demonstrate this through community engagement and create partnerships and environment within the classroom. So it doesn't lean towards memorization and dates and figures and this type of instructivist methods. So active learning is self-directed. Active learning is active. Active learning is going to make use of the 4 major 21st century skills, which are in line with the 2030 vision. I think it was Einstein who said that today's thinking will not allow us to arrive to tomorrow's necessity or achievements. So if we continue to think the same way and behave the same way and act the same way, we will not be able to live up to the vision. So the vision is extending the opportunity for students to get involved and to engage, because now they're disengaged. Self-directed learning is the ability for them to take responsibility. We went through that, so that it's active and also it's digital. Now the requirements of English teaching and English learning and the requirements of 21st century skills is that the students are digital and that they are digitally literate. All right, so there's digital literacy is one of the 21st century skills. Collaboration, that they have the social skills to be able to work in groups, and they can work alone because they'll be self-motivated and regulated students. They have excellent communication skills. Excellent communication skills will not be achieved through grammar instruction, will not be achieved through translation instruction. These skills are achieved through communicative competency and communicative ability, as we'll see a little later on in the slide. Also, so that was the last one is collaboration. I say collaboration, right? So critical thinking, there it is. The last one is critical thinking skills. Critical thinking is the ability to evaluate information critically. They'll be able to make decisions. You know, that list of problems that Dr. Rayner was talking about, they'll be able to navigate in a world where they're faced with a lot of problems. But if we create students that don't have the ability to think critically, then they won't be able to navigate these problems. Also, we can throw in a good dose of creativity and innovation. By allowing students to create and by preparing a curricula that is based on creation and the creation of projects, problems-based solving, task-based solving, speaking, debating, and doing all these things, inshallah, bi'ithnillah, the students will be up to the task. So we talked about constructivism. Let's talk about the negative side, which is, it's not negative. I don't want to give that impression. All methods have their benefits, and a teacher should be or educator and teacher/teacher, they all should be well-versed in all of the methodologies. So let's talk about instructivism, which we call the traditional method. So you can see, what do you think? What comes to mind? We see the teacher lecturing at the board. It's a complex, looks like statistics problem. I don't know. So we see one student she's in her book. One student is on his laptop. The other one student is looking at the other student, and the other student in the back we don't know. So what we gather from this picture is that the students aren't engaged. And when they're not engaged, learning doesn't take place. So this method is considered the opposite of constructivism. It's considered the opposite of student-centered learning. Teachers are the transmitters of knowledge. We look nice, we have our nice suit on, we stand in front of the class, we lecture. Oh, my lecture was wonderful today. We do it without much reflective practice, and everything is right with the world. The student is passive, he's not engaged. And there's high authority and low student-learner autonomy. Mr. Abdullah, I would like to read about the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Oh, I'm sorry, Muhammad, we cannot read about the beginning of the Industrial Revolution right now because we must speak about the causes of the Civil War in America. These topics have no relevancy to what the student wants to learn. So in our curricula, we must make room for the students to have a selective choice, and all in line with the mission and goals of the institution and the nation as well. So in these type of environments, there's low community engagement. So what we want is we want to foster the ability of our students to go out and speak. They should be able to speak English very well and go out and engage in the community. They can do all types of things. They can teach. We'll see that they can teach. And you might say, well, they don't know anything. Yes, they do. They know. They have their life experiences, their skills, and they have their prior knowledge. As it is now, students basically learn, and in instructivist methodology, students learn for high-stakes careers, high-stakes examinations only. They don't learn for the sake of learning. They learn to get the job. They learn to pass the examination. I passed my midterm. Oh, excellent. Okay, but then 24 hours, actually 72 hours after he crammed the information, he or she crammed the information, it is proven that through research that they'll forget the information. So what good is it if they forget the information? Lifelong learners re-examine what they know, and they keep it current and fresh.
Sorry for interrupting you, bro, but dear guests, we still only have 6 minutes left until we are done with Dr. Musa, so we would be more than happy and thrilled as usual waiting for your questions and inquiries via the QA books. If we still have time again, my intervention will be also allowed if we still have enough time. So for the inconvenience, brother. Thank you.
No inconvenience. So this is called passive learning. And we talked about it a great deal, but here are some examples. And if these items are occurring within the classroom, then we have to try to change it and adopt a more student-centered learning approach. If we look at the desks here, they're neatly aligned and orderly. Did you know that this comes out of the Industrial Revolution, right? The time when colonization was spreading, the time when factory work was king, and they needed people to be orderly. And it is the same time and the inception of mass education. So through mass education and the need for orderliness and systems that they built, which is a hierarchical system, right? When we talk about these systems, behaviorism, constructivism, they're also systems of or epistemologies of knowledge that are arranged through a certain hierarchy. Well, so this hierarchical structure is the reason why we had the desks aligned in rows and the rectangular classrooms and the authoritative stance and position of the teacher, because it came out of the context of the time in which it developed. So, but in this type of learning, students don't engage. Students are all the same. There's no differentiation between the students. Students do not participate except when called upon. Ahmed, raise your hand. You must not speak out of turn. Rote memorization is king. So we practice a lot by drilling. He said, she said, she says. Or I say, you say, we, wait, I do, you do, we do, right? So rote memorization, rote practicing, this is part and parcel of instructivism, and not saying that there's not a place for it. We can use all the methods, but we have to change the approach to make it more student-centered. So lecturing is the main tool of transmission, as opposed to practice. Practice is unrealistic. It's arbitrary. We designed a practice. Okay, John went to the store, fill in the blank. John went to the store. John goes to the store, right? You get the picture. So real world scenarios and practices and projects are not used. Students study for exams. We went for that. We already went over that. So let's look at this pyramid really quickly. So this is an interesting pyramid. It's not Bloom's. It's called the Pyramid of Learning. But if you look at it, if I had my white screen, I would correlate it to Bloom's in the sense about showing. But what we can notice is that the lower order skills on this diagram, this infographic, are at the top. Lower order skills are at the top. Higher order skills are at the bottom. So it's the inverse if we were to apply Bloom's to this. So we see that lecturing is a passive teaching method. It's a behavioral method, instructivist method, and it is passive. The students are not engaged. They can listen, but they can take notes, but still it's passive. Reading is passive. It's a little more because students are involved in the cognitive processes of thinking. And whenever students think, there is more engagement. And audio visuals is 20% or higher. Now, these aren't etched in stone, mind you, but it's higher than a lecturing because the students you're activating all the senses, activating the visual sense, auditory sense, and the other senses. Dual modality, as it's called in the research, dual modality. They read and they see a picture that is aligned with the information. Demonstration. So modeling is something that we do a lot in student-centered learning and that we should do. Now, the participatory models are group discussion. So once you add the social aspect to it, whether it is TESOL, speaking, or whatever, it goes up. Practice by doing, actually doing the task that they need to do. Okay, you have a scenario in the classroom. Let us talk about going to the store and ordering a meal. Let's go to the doctor's office. So we can set up these scenarios in the classroom. And the highest of them all is teach others. So this is very, very important. When students teach other students, they themselves learn. So you learn something best when you are able to teach it. The relationship between the communicative approach, we're running out of time, is that what we need to know basically is that communicative theory and TESOL it lines up with SCL and constructivism. Learners acquire communicative competency by engaging in real-world scenario-driven, context-driven social interactions. They do not learn how to speak through grammar. They do not learn how to speak through reading, and they do not learn how to speak through writing. They learn how to speak through speaking in a social context and in an environment that is safe, that allows them to make mistakes, and that they will not feel embarrassed when they make mistakes. So in order for students to learn how to use English, we have to do English. We have to do TESOL, and this is one of the main takeaways that I want you to understand, is that we do English. So some of the characteristics. So we learn by doing, which means actually speaking, because no one asks you ever, if you know a language, they say, do you know Arabiya and Ta'arif Arabi? نعم أنا أعرف عربي. Yeah, they mean speaking. They don't say, do you know English? They say, yeah, I know how to read English. No, no one will ever ask you if you know how to read English. People ask you if you know how to speak English. And when we say know a language, basically what we're talking about is, do you know how to speak? So students need to speak, 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 speak. We need to reduce the teacher talk time and up the student talk time. Task-based learning should be provided. Task-based learning provides opportunities for students to use the English language in spontaneous interactions, not scripted. Read the script from the book. Hi, Tom. My name is John. What's your name? My name is Ronald. Do you like English class? Yes, I love. Right? We do it all day long, unfortunately, but it's not student-centered and it's not communicative. Communicative is spontaneous. Communicative allows the students to learn, to negotiate, to make mistakes, to try out new structures. And once they are trying out these new structures in a spontaneous environment, it becomes acquisition. As Dr. Stephen Creation said, it becomes acquisition. Learning the acquisition hypothesis, you cannot learn using grammar. Students don't learn using grammar.
Sorry, Dr. Musa, we still only have 1 minute left. I know.
All right.
Sorry for interrupting you. It's okay.
That's okay. We'll wrap it up. So the rest of the slide is on the slide. The rest of the information you can take a look at on your own. So what I want you to take away from this is that CLT and constructivism align with communicative learning. I spent a lot of time on communicative learning because I wanted to give the background. So now here is Dr. Robert Gagnes. If you have a chance, look at the 9 events of instruction. So we want to gain the attention of the learner, inform the learner of the objectives, but this is not 100% constructivism, but nothing ever is, right? So we will tweak this for our uses and purpose, but also not inform the learner. You can involve the learner in this, activate the prior learning, present the context. So we do have cases where we do present content. We model the content. We provide the guidance. This is awesome. This is very, very important that we provide active feedback so the students know that they're on track and allow them time to practice. And so in the end, here are some tips. This PowerPoint is available for you. This was provided by toddfinney.com. And this is all of the things that you can do to create a more creative student-centered learning classroom, especially in the TESOL area. Just remember, allow them to talk, and keep talking. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear brother, Dr. Musa Abdullah. What a nice, interesting presentation of one of the most challenging, if it's not the most challenging task ever for English language teachers, which is how to correctly and smoothly go through a class of teaching with different levels, or what we call differentiated instruction. And here I have to say, or to take the quote by Howard Gardner, when he says, the biggest mistake of past centuries in teaching has been to treat all the children as if they were variants of the same individual, and thus to feel justified in teaching them all the same subjects in the same way. That's what we actually suffer from when it comes to teaching with different levels. And oh my goodness, sometimes the teacher feels totally distracted and he doesn't find the correct guide how to do and what to do, and above all, when to do it. Thank you, Dr. Musa. We have only a very few number of questions because we're actually in very limited time. The first question is, how to motivate students to learn for learning, not for the book or for the exam?
Okay, so one of the main ways that you can motivate a student.
He means that some of the students are actually demotivated to an extent that when he or she comes to the class, they don't have the passion and the desire to accept even whatever you're actually presenting to them. So I guess it's a kind of what we call mutual interaction between home and the school as well. It's not only the teachers. Am I correct?
No, it's a community. So everybody's involved in community.
You're right.
So the learning community. So we're looking at building learning communities. So the parents have to be involved. The community has to be involved.
I agree. Yeah.
But as far as motivation, once a student knows that they'll be able to achieve their goal and what is possible if they learn this information. So we have to ground the learning material in the wants, needs, and expectations, as Dr. Rayner said, of the student, of the learner. They have to see, what is this going to do for me? Why should I learn this? And once they understand that, okay, all right, I understand that you have to get through this exam right now and you might not want to do it, but in the long run, if they know the vision, if they know where they're going, okay, in the long run, you will become a doctor one day. Then the motivation for learning this objective is more palatable. They want to learn it. They want to be motivated. But also, we need to foster in them the love of learning.
I agree. I agree with you. Totally agree, man.
Right.
Thank you again. I can't find words to really express how I was really glad to be your session moderator today.
Thank you, Dr. Wild.
Great pleasure. Thank you very much. Waiting for you on other sessions with Ata. Wishing you all the best and see you around. Thank you, Dr. Musa.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Salam alaikum.
Thank you, man. Have a nice day. Thank you, dear guests. So we only have a 5-minute break, and we're back. See you around. We'll be waiting for the rest of our today's conference. Thank you.
أولا الأنشطة اللاصفية هي جزء لا يتجزأ من العملية التعليمية لصقل مواهب وقدرات وإمكانيات ومهارات الطالب. يتمكن منها من خلالها الطالب أن يكون شخصيته وتظهر مواهبه وتطور من خلال معلمينه والمشرفين للأنشطة في هذا الجانب. اللغة الإنجليزية لغة مهمة في مجال التعليم وفي مجال العمل، لذلك من المهم أن يتم تقويتها، كما تحرص التعليم في المملكة على تقوية اللغة العربية، كذلك يحرص على تقوية اللغة الإنجليزية، وهي لغة يستفاد منها في الجانب التعليمي وكذلك في الجانب العملي. مدارس الرواد وشركة عطاء اهتمت في هذا الجانب في جميع مجمعاتها حتى يبرز هذا القدرات لدى طلابنا ويكون ممكنين لسوق العمل وكذلك لاستكمال دراساتهم العليا.
دكتورة فهد التويجري، شكرا جزيلا لك.
شكرا لكم.
الله يعافيك.
welcome back to our last part of today's conference. It's English Day, so I'd like to welcome our session 2 moderator, Ms. Maram Al-Hazza. Maram is working with us as an academic consultant for Atah Educational Company. So most welcome, Maram. The floor is yours. Most welcome and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wael. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today at Atah Empowerment Conference. And also thank you for our previous speaker, Dr. Rainer and Dr. Musa, for their valuable and interesting topics. Please allow me to express my gratitude to be here and to present the second session for today on the 5th day of the conference. Our third research paper today, entitled Enhancing Student Learning Through Teachers' Empowerment, explaining the meaning of empowered teachers and what are the obstacles and benefits, presented to you today by Professor Rashid Al-Abdelkarim. He has PhD in instructional supervision from Ohio University. He worked as a teacher, supervisor, then general manager of supervision in the Ministry of Education in Saudi Arabia. He received the Book Award in 2013 from the Ministry of Culture and Information for his valuable book, Qualitative Research in Education. He is a member of the Board of Directors of Saudi Society for Educational and Psychological Science, developed a model, diverse educational supervision in 3 schools in Riyadh. It was then applied in a number of the kingdom's education departments, participated as a member of many scientific societies, authored and translated several books. He built and conducted many training sessions, and also he presented a number of research papers. And today he is a professor of curriculum and instruction in King Saud University. We are honored today to have you with us, Professor Rashid. Thank you in advance, and you can start now.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. صبحكم الله بالخير. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy, actually, and it's my pleasure to participate in this conference. And I am pleased, in fact, very pleased to be with you here. I hope I can provide you with some insights and hints based on my 35 years experience in the field of teaching and, in fact, learning and instructional supervision. I was listening to Dr. Musa informative lecture, and it took me back to the early days of teaching English and also learning about teaching in general and teaching in English in specific. The title of my presentation is, as you can see, Enhancing Students' Learning Through Teachers' Empowerment. In fact, it's not a research paper or academic research paper. It's a kind of position paper or even some thoughts or insights about teachers' empowerment. The main objective of the presentation is to explain what it means to be empowered or to be an empowered teachers, and how could an empowered teachers affect and foster the students' learning. We usually focus on how to empower teacher, but in my presentation, I'll try to focus on what it means to be empowered teachers. The teachers' empowerment is a process that enables teachers to take greater control over their work, manage their professional growth, and to be more effective in promoting students' learning. This is my definition for teachers' empowerment. This is the essence. I mean, to manage the professional growth and to be more effective in promoting students' learning, this is the essence of teachers' empowerment. Teachers' empowerment is a critical component in what is called the school reform and school improvement. We all educators actually are trying to improve and reform their schools. Teachers' empowerment is a main component of that movement, as it allows teachers to adapt to the changing conditions and to take on leadership roles, not being just passive teachers, but take on leadership roles with their or within their schools. So teachers' empowerment is an effort to make teachers learning leaders, not only teachers, but learning leaders and facilitators who lead students to manage their learning. I'm not going actually to talk about teachers' empowerment. I'm sure my colleagues will do this throughout their presentations or lectures. And they will elaborate on this issue. Instead, I will approach the issue from another point of view. That is the teacher's point of view, the teacher's standpoint. What does it mean to be an empowered teacher? To be an empowered teacher means to have the attitude of self-control, or what we usually call it in psychology, self-efficacy, and to have the skills to act according to that attitude, not just to have that attitude, but to act according to it. That is behavior. This includes, first, to be able to decide your training and growth needs. Empowered teacher should be able and should be given the chance to decide his or her training and growth needs, and to capitalize on his or her experience in doing this. In many cases, we underestimate, we as principals or supervisors, we underestimate the and sometimes even neglect the experience that teachers have developed through their years of teaching, and that contradicts the issue or the concept of empowerment. The second, to think reflectively about your instructional and educational beliefs and performance. An empowered teacher usually has a clear teaching philosophy, and this is very important. The teaching philosophy, which is ideally a written statement of the values, goals, and beliefs regarding both teaching and learning, and also his or her role in this process. I mean, the process of teaching and learning. This is what, in general, what we call teaching philosophy. Every teacher actually should have this philosophy, and every supervisor and principal should encourage his or her teacher to do this. Third, to be ready to take the responsibility of your students' learning as a teacher. To be ready to take the responsibility of your students' learning. The students' learning is the responsibility of the teacher. Empowered teacher usually considers himself as the key factor of his students' learning. He knows that they should be active in their learning, but also he plays a key role in providing challenging and encouraging learning opportunities. Dr. Musa mentioned something about this when he talked about constructivism. This is the the practical side of constructivism, in fact. Fourth, to be ready to take responsibility to your own professional development. Empowered teachers usually sit or largely participate in setting his professional development objectives. Objectives and experiences, and manage the process of his growth. That means to be active in this issue, to be a constructivist, as Dr. Musa said or elaborated in this issue, but from different angle, to be a constructivist learner and teacher. Fifth, to actively participate in classroom and school decision-making. A main dimension of teachers' empowerment is being able to take teaching decisions in the classroom and to wisely determine the best way for teaching in specific instructional situations. In my opinion, empowered teacher is a good instructional decision maker. If we want to empower our teachers, we should make them or help them to be good instructional decision makers, because they are responsible for the instructional decisions that they usually make in their classrooms and in their schools. Sixth, to actively participate in staff development activities in your school. An empowered teacher participates in empowering others and help in their growth process. That means his or her colleagues. Seventh, to participate in action research at school as an activity of problem solving and professional growth. Both the action research usually is used for problem solving the problems that usually each school faces, or for professional growth, to learn from trying to solve these problems. Action research is a way of professional growth through reflective practice, and it is also a strategy for solving problems. Finally, being an empowered teacher also means to plan strategically for your instructional career path, to have a vision for your educational work. This, in my opinion, what can answer this question: what does it mean to be an empowered teacher? Now, let me briefly point out some of the obstacles. Next slide, please. Some of the obstacles of teachers' empowerment, things that hinder teachers' empowerment. Of course, I will mention the factors usually related to the teachers themselves. I will mention only three: laziness, lack of ambition, and lack of vision. Laziness: some teachers do not want to work hard to be ready or qualified to be empowered. They prefer to stay in the comfort zone. They refrain from taking risks. A lack of ambition, or having a little desire for success and capacity building. The third and last, lack of vision. Some teachers are short-sighted, if I may say. They do not look at the future and think strategically. Teachers' empowerment comes best for the teachers that are ready and well equipped to teachers' empowerment. So these are, in my opinion, the three main obstacles for teachers' empowerment. related to the teachers themselves. Generally speaking, teachers' empowerment serves in two ways. The first is to support teachers' professional development, as we mentioned before. Empowering teachers improves their confidence, skills, and helps them to realize their full potential, capitalizing on their experience. And this is very important, their experience. Teachers should be well equipped to take enlightened instructional decisions while dealing with learners. The second is to promote students' learning. Teachers' empowerment's end goal is to help improve the quality of teaching, which in turn should enhance students' learning and their academic performance. In the remaining part of my presentation, I'm going to discuss how to increase students' learning through teachers' empowerment, or how could empower teachers enhance student learning. No matter how good you teach or think you teach as a teacher, if this teaching does not lead to students' learning, and this is very important, the teaching would be of low value, if any. The ultimate goal of teaching, and this is very important, the ultimate goal of teaching that in many cases we miss, the ultimate goal of teaching that every teacher should keep in mind and focus on is the students' learning. This is a key word, the students' learning. The value of any staff development process should be seen through this goal. Teaching, in fact, is a goal-oriented process. That means the teaching quality of any teacher basically would be judged and measured mainly and maybe only by the student's learning, not only by his behavior, the teacher's behavior, but by the student's learning. This is an issue that some of the teachers and sometimes supervisors, in fact, often overlook or underestimate. They focus on the process of teachers teaching rather than the process of students learning. Teaching in an empowering environment is a means for learning, not an end in itself. Confusing the two, means and end, teaching and learning, exhausts teachers and hinders the effort for teachers' empowerment, or sometimes misleads it. Slide 9, please. We talked about this slide, how to increase. Now let me talk briefly about the benefits of teachers empowerment for student learning. How teachers empowerment reflect on students, or should reflect on students' learning. Empowering teachers has a profound effect on students' learning. It, in fact, frees and motivates teachers to use innovative approaches that promote critical thinking, creativity, and problem solving among students. By feeling responsible and accountable for their students' learning, empowered teachers become more directed and dedicated to the success of their students. And this is very important. in the process of teaching or encouraging students for learning is to have or to encourage teachers to be or to feel more responsible about their students' learning. Empowered teachers can first increase students' engagement, and Dr. Musa mentioned this in teaching language. Increase students' engagement. Students' mental and physical engagement is crucial for deep and active learning. And in fact, constructivism that Dr. Musa talked about focus on deep and active learning. Students' mental to increase students' engagements, students' mental and physical engagement is crucial for deep and active learning. Empowered teachers can create a safe and inclusive classroom or classroom work environment that promotes open communication and reduces barriers for learning. This could be done, increasing the student engagement could be done through the following strategies. Just to mention a few. Making lessons interesting and enjoyable, and we can say communicative, through games, stories, open-ended questions, dialogues, and authentic learning activities. And this is a key concept in constructivism and in communicative language learning approach. Authentic learning activities. Authentic that is real as possible. Differentiating instruction through providing varied content and strategies instead of boring, typical one-size-fits-all lessons that we usually do, unfortunately. The second benefit of teachers' empowerment is to improve and raise students' academic achievement. The first, engagement. The second, academic achievement. Students with empowered teachers in the classroom have been shown to have greater academic achievement, better grades, and higher self-esteem. This could be done through the following steps: focusing on the must-know content of the curriculum. We all know that usually we divide the content to different levels or types: must know, should know, and nice to know. The teacher should focus on the must-know content of the curriculum, providing students with the skills of how to learn instead of just being passive learners. And also this is closely related to constructivism. Presenting challenging learning opportunities, not typical boring activities, giving students clear feedback about their progress. The third benefit of teachers' empowerment is improving students' problem-solving skills. And as Dr. Musa, in fact, all the skills that we have mentioned included in the what we call the 21st century skills that education should focus on. The third benefit of teachers' empowerment is improving students' problem-solving skills. Students with empowered teachers receive support that challenge them to think critically and creatively at the same time. They find themselves encouraged to analyze, critique, and evaluate ideas, issues, and concepts, and not just passively receive them. Such students have better problem-solving skills and will engage in productive discussions and dialogues with others to develop their ideas and express their opinions. These skills will make students better lifelong learner, and not only English learner, but lifelong learner. The absence of teacher empowerment mostly will create passive students instead of active creative learners. Unempowered teachers mostly will make the classroom boring and unmotivating. This, I think, deals with the question posed to Dr. Musa about motivating students. If you want to motivate students, you have to empower teachers. If we as supervisors and principals want to motivate students, encourage them to engage in learning, we have to empower our teachers. In conclusion, true teachers' empowerment is a joint school work, and it's a culture, actually. School culture should be developed by everybody in the school. And it should enable teachers to provide effective learning experience and to and lead to a better student learning. Thank you for listening, and I hope this has been useful for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor. It was really exceptional topic. I'm sure that all of our attendees got a lot of new information, and they were inspired by your paper. Actually, we have many questions, if you don't mind answering, Professor. Just due to the time, we're gonna take only 3 questions. So the first question says, how can an empowered teacher effectively implement the development of curriculum?
He or she can do that through, first of all, understanding the curriculum. Understanding the curriculum, understanding the goals and the objectives of the curriculum, and more importantly, understand the theory that the curriculum was built on. This is very important. And Dr. Musa mentioned something related to this. To understand, if you want to critique a curriculum, if you want to develop a curriculum or participate in developing a curriculum, or even if you want to implement the curriculum, you have to, of course, know the objectives and the goals, but also you have to understand the philosophy and the theory that the curriculum was built on. This is very important. Usually, empowered teacher can do that through discussing the issues that he noticed in the curriculum with his supervisor or with his principal. He cannot, of course, contact directly the Ministry of Education. Sometimes he can, but typically he cannot. But through communication with his supervisor and his principal, to mention the issues that he's concerned about in the curriculum.
Yes, I agree. Yes. Moving to the second question, Professor, it says that, is there any role for the students to improve the teacher empowerment?
To be good students, to be active learners, but we have to provide them with the tools for that. To be active learners, we have to provide them with the tools for that. If the students have the tools to be active learners, this will make things very easy for teachers.
Okay, moving to the third question, it says, is lack of training program considered one of the obstacles for the teacher empowerment?
maybe, but even if we have training programs, if teachers are not empowered before they join the programs, they will not actually benefit as we hope from these programs. The empowered teachers, yes, there are programs for empowering teachers or training programs for supervisors, how to empower teachers, but the empowered teachers will benefit most from the training programs.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Rashid. We were really honored to have you here today, and we can't thank you enough. Thank you for sharing your time and knowledge with us. And now moving to the fourth research paper for today. Our fourth research paper for today entitled Organizational Skills as Anxiety Diminishing Tool, explaining the impact of soft skills on education and why empowering teacher is key to sustainable future. Presented to you by Dr. Noura Al-Musharraf. Dr. Noura Al-Musharraf received her PhD degree in Foreign and Second Language Education from the University of Buffalo. She is Associate Professor, Vice Dean of Admissions and Registrations, leader of the Educational Research Lab at Prince Sultan University. Also, she has many research interests such as English as a foreign language, project-based teaching learning, content-based instruction and multimodal assessment and teaching strategies, technology implementations, and also many qualitative research methods such as dialogic classroom discourse and comparative case studies, and computing implementation and statistical research. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Noura. The mic is yours. You can start.
Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My voice is clear?
Yeah, it is clear.
Good. I just want one more thing. If you can enable me to share my screen, I would really appreciate it.
Okay, Dr. Noura, now you can move your presentation. You have the control. Just click on the screen, then you can move the arrows up and down.
Still, host disabled participant screen sharing, so it's not enable me to press the green arrow.
Okay, Dr. Noura, you don't have to share your screen. You can just move the presentation without sharing the screen. Just press the button and move the arrows.
Sure thing. I have a Kahoot presentation. That's why I wanted to have my own control, but let's get it figured out while I present. First of all, thank you so much for attending today's session, and thank you so much for your kind introduction. Today's presentation, it's going to be an organizational skills as an anxiety dimensioning tools. And why is that topic very important? Within academia, within education context, knowing how to avoid anxiety and to know some strategies to overcome it, it's really a key success to a lot of success factors. So that's why it's really important to understand how to target it and how to tackle it, especially for teachers. We as teachers, we have to feed ourselves with and nurture ourselves with love and care, and to understand the whole environment. So when we face our students and when we face some dilemmas, we know exactly how to act and react. All right. So starting from the rules as a teacher, we know that an active presentation and adoption of growth mindset is really crucial, not only for educators, but for students, teachers, schools, network, to foster positive change within education. and to have this fundamental cornerstones for improving individuals' quality of life and contributing to societal advancement. This is coming from what? This is actually coming from Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and it's coming specifically from SDG number 4, where it focused on promoting equal and lifelong learning opportunities for individuals. All right, moving on, knowing that educators and educational institutions worldwide have engaged discussion regarding shifts in education paradigms, we know that this transition should occur in a really appropriate manner, knowing that we have to include teaching methods, curriculum design, school leadership, educators, students, classrooms, libraries, and learning environment. So the shift in role of teacher is really important. Teachers are not always a lecturer or I'm going to say the controller of the classrooms, but on the opposite side, within our education, we should act differently.
Sorry to interrupt.
Always. Can you say that again?
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to remind you that you can move your presentation by yourself. If you can.
Let me check.
Just click on the screen, then move the arrows.
It's still not giving me an access. So I'm not sure.
Just move it. Click on the screen, just one click, then move the arrows up and down.
It's not moving.
Still?
Yeah.
For interruption, Dr. Noura, you can use the arrows on the keyboard, sorry.
I'm using the arrows up and down, and it's not moving.
Just click the screen before that. Click one click on the screen.
I did one click on the screen, arrow up and arrow down, and it's not moving. I Zoom, you have to give me the panelist access so I can do the moving, but it's fine.
You are already a panelist, actually.
I have no idea. Host disabled participant screen sharing. I think this is an issue with the technical team.
No problem. You can direct us to move on using our controller, please.
Still, I cannot move it, but if you can be kind enough to move to slide number 5, I would really appreciate it. Okay, you can pause here. All right. Continuing on, we want to talk about here how it's really important to connect and to act differently within the classroom. As an educator, if you're asking yourself, acting differently, how? I'm always in control. I have to control my students. I have to act as the boss or as a knowledge giver, but that's not true anymore. Within our education setting or system, we have always to act as a mentors. We have to know for sure that acknowledging the wealth resources and make it accessible for students is really mandatory. It's not an option anymore. We have to know how to empower our students and to act as a facilitators and motivate them within the learning to allow them to act in several roles, including being teachers themselves, being mentors themselves, and we follow up on their progress. So how can we do that? Empowering the teachers themselves, the impact of soft skills and education. First of all, as educator, you have to get yourself equipped with social media and networking. You have to know all the updated technological evolutions. So for examples, if we have Quizlets, Kahoots, games, anything that can facilitate the learning process and can help with the learning process, you adapt it and try as much as possible to implement it within your classroom. What else is so important? Teamwork, fostering collaborative learning. You can do peer teaching, you can visit some classrooms, you can evaluate them, and with that fostering of collaborative learning environment, you would create a better environment. Cultural intelligence. Embracing diversity in education is really critical. Knowing that now our students are coming from different let's say, from the different parts of the world. And even some of them, they're coming from different religion background, cultural background. So we need to be really sensitive to that and make sure to have some equality in regard of that. Critical thinking and problem solving. It's really important to know how to act and to nurture our students' mind. What's so important also is communication skills, fostering meaningful connection, and knowing how to act. What's also very important, and we're moving into slide number 7, is that while we act, we know that for sure that we are reaching to a sustainable level. Within education, it's really important to offer an equal opportunities for all, and various roles for teachers, for decision makers, for students to adapt such changes. Let me try now still. Okay. Moving on, we're talking about why it's so important. So, okay, now I know what to act. Tell me why. Why should I change this as an educator? It's really important because it's critical spirit to develop number of skills. Number one of skills is the real knowledge. Actually, what you perceive it today, it's not necessarily correct or accurate next year. So you have to update yourself with the ecosystem and make sure what's reality and what is really connection between the information you're getting and the information you're presenting in a period of time. What also is very important is that you being able to contribute to this knowledge. Once you know the knowledge, once you acquire new knowledge, you know how to communicate and deliver such knowledge in a complex system. Not only that, it's really important to be responsible individual that can be aware of the importance of teaching and living values of sharing, cooperation, and ethical consideration. Going to slide number 10, ways to install a growth mindset in students. Growth mindset is really incredible. And we know for sure that once you have this growth mindset, you know how to act as an educator and use pedagogical approach to focus on understanding values and efforts and knowing how to effectively deliver methods of teaching. Core values for personal and societal development. What is so important if we're asking about the most important values that we should nurture our students, and we are in slide number 11. Basically, we have to understand the roles of the teachers in shaping creative, values-driven individual. Once we understand our students, once we understand their strengths, their weaknesses, and all of that, we know for sure how to have this shaping creativities within our community. Also, unleashing creativities in the classroom. Classroom are not necessarily only scientific. Scientific can be combined with creative aspect. We also want to nurture our students with solid values through education. We're not only teaching subject matter, we also add to this and very important values. We also focus on building a positive classroom atmosphere and integrating technology to create a creative learning. Collaborative lesson planning and resource sharing is really critical. And lastly, reflection. Why it's so important? Once you exit the classroom, you know for sure that there's a lot you can add. So going back and you want to add something, you're going to write it down either as a note or you can take it as an exit survey from your students. So your next classroom would be more modified and better approached because you listened, because you can hear their voices. Moving on. I want to have some distinction between fixed mindset and growth mindset, and that's in slide number 12, please. Well, many educators who are interested in growth mindset would know for sure that you have to understand which of mindset you are. Some of them would have fixed mindset. What's that mean? That means students believe that upon their skills, talent, and overall intelligence are fixed traits. So they know that this is my ability. I'm not going to be able to change. What is your role as a teacher? To know that for sure that you can teach them how to be more open to that and move from resiliency and going forward to open opportunities, because again, this is how you move to the growth mindset, where you have your talent through efforts and persistence, and you be able to be receptive to lesson and feedback and believe in continuous improving upon pedagogical teaching method. Moving on to slide number 13. Why instill a growth mindset in students? Why is that important? Well, number one, we celebrate effort, not just a result. Once our students are trying, that is enough for celebration. We encourage risk-taking. It's really important. We ask them to do mistakes. We tell them, okay, just try. There's no right or wrong in this. Once you try, that means it's already a milestone for you. And we also have to teach them how to be resilient. Resilience of what? Of failure. Well, I failed today, but this is my milestone that gonna take me to another journey, because if I didn't fail today, I wouldn't be able to reach to my goal next day. Also, we're gonna encourage them, as I said before, reflection. We're going to ask them to give instant feedback, either via WhatsApp, Twitter, or any other social media accounts, or a written feedback within the classrooms and so more. But what's so important also is to teach values and changes, and to ask them to accept changes and also to adapt some challenges. What's so important is also provide diverse learning opportunities. This is really important, because within our classroom, you know that students are coming from different backgrounds. So offering some diverse learning opportunities would add value to the classroom itself. All right, now closing remarks. It's really important to take away that as an educator, you should act as a mentor, as a guider. You should, first of all, within your classroom, to understand your students' traits, characteristics, and know for sure what is the percentage of an introverts and extroverts, and whether or not you have students with special need, and whether or not you have students with special circumstances. Once you know that within your first days, you can move forward and understand, how can I, as a leader, as an educator, teach my students to be leaders themselves, to teach the lesson, to lead the lesson, to be mentors, also to shape their success route. Also, it's very important to acknowledge the importance of teachers in shaping futures by providing resources, ongoing support for their development. Mainly, this workshop is designed to inspire you guys to play vital roles, to nurture our generation, not only in excelling academically, but more importantly, to have some creativity and value necessary for success in the modern world. I hope I can play with you guys Kahoot, but I'm not sure with the limited access, but I'll try my best. Still, I have no access, but for that, I could conclude the lesson and stay here for any possible questions that you might have. Thank you so much for listening, and enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noura, for taking the time to be with us today. I'll see with the control if they can help you to share the screen for Kahoot. Now you can share. Can you try, Dr. Noura, please?
I know the issue here. They're saying because you're sharing the same screen, I cannot share it. If you stop your sharing screen, I would be able to share it.
Okay, can you try now, please, Dr. Noura?
Okay. Well, okay. Now I can. Perfecto. Okay. Let me start now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, actually we can.
Perfect. Let me go. All right. I know that you are all, I guess, muted, but that's fine. I need you to be engaged within the questions and answer chat box, because without your engagement, guys, I would certainly stop. Are you ready? What you should do right now is to join www.kahoot.it and please put the game pin 334303. I can't wait to see you there. Ammar, hello there. Adnan, Muradi. Great. Boys more than girls? That's not fair. Where are you, girls? Ahlam, okay, finally. I'm okay with fake names too. Fatma, Nada. Basma, Saleh. All right. Qasim, Muhammad, Arwa, Turkey. Good. Now we have equality. This is nice. Thank you, guys. I'm going to wait for a little bit, just 2 minutes, and then I'm going to start the game. So stay tuned. Latifa, Awatif, Noura. May, Ahmed, Aya, Ala, teacher. I love that. Amna, Sabah, Tamim. Oh, this is nice. Happy, happy morning while still morning. It's 42 now. Let's have an agreement. When we reach 200, we're going to start the road heading. Agreed? I can't keep you waiting. Oh la la. Yalla, ala barakatillah. Ready or not, we'll have to start the game. Voila. All right, 10 questions. The United Nations has identified education as one of the Sustainable Development Goals, environmental goals, sustainability, growth mindset. Only 66 out of you? I'm not happy. Let's see who is on the peak. Fatma Al-Farhan, I'm so proud of you. Next, the 2030 agenda, specifically targeting the 4th SDG, focuses on what? Education only, equal and lifelong learning, well-being, health. Number 4. Equal and lifelong learning, not bad. All right. We have Marwan. Good for you. True or false? The current shift of the role as a teacher proposes that she act as a mentor rather than facilitate knowledge only. عاد مرة سهلة مرة. الله عليكم الله عليكم. Nice. Almost all the audience participated. I love that. يا قلبي. True. Okay. So basically we have Dina Ali. Good for you, Dina. The most important soft skills to empower teachers are communication skills, critical thinking, and problem solving, teamwork, all the above. By the way, if you click faster, you go on the peak. Bravo, I'm satisfied. 164 out of 200. This is the majority. Happy. Dina, you're still there on the top. Keep up the good work. Excellent. True or false? The overreaching goals of education is to educate and train individuals across various roles. Is it true? Is it true? Come on, girls. Come on, boys. Hmm. 139, not bad at all. And we still have Dina up there. Good for you. Streak number 3, mashallah. True or false? Current educational institution tends to ignore the development of environmental education. Is that true? Let's see. Nice. And we still have Dina up there. And Mahmoud is next. This is good. Complete the following. Sustainability training plays an important role in preparing future students, educators, community, schools. Educators is our core. You know why? Because when you have one excellent educator, you would have a lot of students are in effect and impacted by it. So basically, if you have a really, I'm going to say, an instructor who are acting unethically, that would affect the whole environment. So it's really at a core. Let's go next. Dina, bravo عليك, mashallah. Going next. D is a professional who is endowed to a critical spirit and develop a number of skills related to teaching. D, academic advisor, admission assistant, school administrative, environmental educator. Oh. Okay. And now we still have Dina, mashallah, Sarah, Mahmoud, Sally, Nabil. Now, moving to question number 9, understanding growth mindset and effectively building it in students has become a priority. Growth mindset, fixed mindset. Is it true or false? Allah alaikum, 194. Dina is still up there. I am so proud of you. Sarah, Sadi, Mahmoud and Nabil, keep up the good work. And our last question. هذا هنا لازم تجاوبونا صح. How did you find this session? I'm playing with your minds. Amazing, incredible, spectacular, all the above. And it's not counted in the scores. So you don't say, you did not do this ethically. It's not counted, even if it's like saying correct. All right, now. Number 3, we have Sally, bravo. And 2, we have Mahmoud. And winner number 1, Dina. Thank you guys for watching and participating and listening. This comes to the end of our presentation. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have questions, you have suggestions, you also have my emails. It's there. And if you want to contact me, you can contact me directly. But right now I'll be sitting in the session. See if you have any questions or concerns, I'll be able to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noura, for taking the time to be with us today. We really appreciate it. You were incredibly valuable and helpful, and we really did have a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Moving to questions, if you don't mind answering, Dr. Noura, we have the first question says, how can we improve those with fixed mindedness to change their perspective? Dr. Noura, can you hear me?
Yes, I did hear the question, and it's really an excellent question. Sometimes, if we have students with fixed mind, we only, as educator, can try. There's no promises that fixed mind can be one with a growth mindset, because again, it depends on their resilience level and their skills and their aptitude and their characteristics and their willingness to change in a lot of factors. But at the end, we as an educator, we have to try and do some action plans to change that, especially within our classrooms. If the students are saying, well, I only can do this using this way, we'll have an open discussion, have an open communication, ask them, why would you think this way? How do you think this way? With that, you're going to train them step by step to reach to the growth mindset.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noura. Another question says, in your opinion, which one of the two philosophies is more accurate? And is there any other philosophies?
You mean the growth or fixed or something else you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, as I said before, with a fixed mindset, it's really hard to adapt some changes and modification. With the growth one, it's really up to the knowledge. So basically with the growth, I know for sure that I'm learning today something new, and I'm trying to do some adaptation and implication within my classroom. Even if it's not correctly implemented, I would learn from my mistake, I would do some reflection, and I would avoid or implement differently.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Noura. We really can't thank you enough. Thank you for taking the opportunity to be with us, and thank you for giving us also the opportunity to learn from you today. Thank you so much. I think the meaning of empowering teacher and empowered teacher today is crystal clear for all of us. Thanks to Professor Rashid and to Dr. Noura. And also now we are moving to the last part of our sessions. Thank you, everyone. We will move on to the last part, which is the recommendations read to you by Mr. Muhammad Al-Awadi, the head of English department at عطاء Educational Company. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ms. Maram, for this gentle introduction. I would like to express my gratitude to our exceptional keynote speakers for their informative research papers presented at the conference. Dr. Rainer Roberts, Dr. Musa Abdullah, Professor Rashid Abdel Karim, and Dr. Noura Musharraf. Your expertise provided invaluable knowledge and inspired us all. I am immensely proud and honored to deliver the final recommendations of عطاء Empowerment Conference. For the moment, I want to focus on the most realistic, applicable, and practical recommendations of the conference. 1. Teachers should not only be knowledge collectors, but also researchers. 2. Implementation of studies on teachers' empowerment impact on students is highly required to tailor training sessions that address the teacher's needs. 3. Student inclusion in the learning process is unavoidable, as students are the reason that we teach. 4. There is no best solution, only best practices. 5. Providing pathways for teachers to take on leadership roles within the school, enabling them to contribute to decision-making processes and drive positive change. 6. Encouraging autonomy in teaching while providing support and guidance when needed, allowing teachers to tailor their methods according to their students' needs. 7. Fostering a collaborative environment where teachers can share ideas, collaborate on innovative trends in teaching. As we draw the curtains on this enlightening conference, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all participants for making this event a resounding success. Your shared knowledge and passion have paved the way for innovative ideas and collaborations that will shape the future of our teachers and students. Let's apply the insights gained here to drive positive change in our field. Cordially, I would like to thank our team of عطاء Empowerment Conference. Thank you, each and every one of you, for your dedication, passion, and unwavering commitment. You put your heart and soul to make this event astounding and exceptional. Thank you, and let's continue to inspire and lead by example until we meet again. Tomorrow is the final day of عطاء Empowerment Conference. We await you with longing and passion. I'd like to inform you that the chat box is open and available for writing your insights and reflection on the conference.
شركة عطاء التعليمية مسيرة تستحق أن تروى. 33 عاماً من العطاء. بدأت في عام 1991. واصلنا فيها نجاحاً يتلوه نجاح. وفي عام 2019 أصبحت عطاء مدرجة في سوق الأسهم السعودي، ونموذجاً يحتذى به في نمو القطاع التعليمي. في عطاء نصنع القادة ونبني الأجيال لتكون علامة فارقة في حاضر الوطن ومستقبله، حيث نغرس القيم ونسطر تاريخاً مليئاً بالإنجازات. نجحنا بتوفيق الله تعالى من خلال رؤية واضحة واستراتيجيات تحقق الأهداف وتدعم الإنجازات. في عطاء نرعى الكوادر ونقدم الخبرات، نسعى للتطوير والريادة من خلال برامج تعليمية ونوعية. ويرى أثر هذه البرامج على أكثر من 44,000 طالب وطالبة في مجمعاتنا التعليمية، والتي تبلغ 22 مجمعاً وعبر 7 مسارات تعليمية. ولا زالت مسيرتنا مستمرة، وطموحنا أن تمتد عطاء إلى العالمية. شركة عطاء التعليمية، جيل مبدع. وقيم راسخة. عطاء التعليمية، جيل مبدع وقيم راسخة. المحددات الاستراتيجية لشركة عطاء التعليمية: تحسين الجودة التعليمية، تحسين المكانة التنافسية للشركة، تحقيق التميز التشغيلي، موائمة خطط تطوير التعليم في المملكة، تحسين تجربة العملاء. الممكنات: تنمية رأس المال البشري، التطوير المهني، ربط التقنية بالتعليم.
هلا والله، أنا الحين بالفصل وبعطي الجوال لأكثر شخص يحب المهنة.
بعطي الجوال للطالب اللي ما قد غاب عن حصة اليوم.
وأنا بعطي الجوال لأكثر شخص يشارك بأنشطة المدرسة.
وأنا بعطي الجوال لأكثر طالب متفوق في الفصل.
الحين نعطي الجوال للي علمنا واللي شجعنا واللي كان معانا طول الوقت.
شركة عطاء التعليمية مسيرة تستحق أن تروى. 33 عاما من العطاء. بدأت في عام 1991، واصلنا فيها نجاحا يتلوه نجاح. وفي عام 2019 أصبحت عطاء مدرجة في سوق الأسهم السعودي، ونموذجا يحتذى به في نمو القطاع التعليمي. في عطاء نصنع القادة ونبني الأجيال لتكون علامة فارقة في حاضر الوطن ومستقبله، حيث نغرس القيم ونسطر تاريخا مليئا بالإنجازات. نجحنا بتوفيق الله تعالى من خلال رؤية واضحة واستراتيجيات تحقق الأهداف وتدعم الإنجازات. في عطاء نرعى الكوادر ونقدم الخبرات، نسعى للتطوير والريادة من خلال برامج تعليمية ونوعية. ويرى أثر هذه البرامج على أكثر من 44 ألف طالب وطالبة في مجمعاتنا التعليمية، والتي تبلغ 22 مجمعاً وعبر 7 مسارات تعليمية. ولا زالت مسيرتنا مستمرة، وطموحنا أن تمتد عطاء إلى العالمية. شركة عطاء التعليمية، جيل مبدع وقيم راسخة.